I've always said anyone, doesn't matter what your background is, who you are, what your education level is, anyone can fall for a scam.
We're facing an unprecedented crisis around the world of cyber-related criminal activity targeting every sort of person from every single society.
What we know with regard to these scams is that they are employing masterful psychological techniques against our victims.
They will build up a relationship with you. And eventually you realize you have lost all of your money and you will never get that back.
I never thought I would be vulnerable to a scam. This ruined me. And I didn't have any real good explanation for it.
Last year, in the US alone, people lost over $5 billion in crypto-related fraud. Most of the ways that people are losing money in the US is through crypto.
If we work with a scambaiter that can tell us where an operation is, we're going to kick their doors in with a SWAT team.
Let's see what they're up to.
So who gave you this number?
Okay. Years ago, I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw a clip from Hello, This is Lenny.
Hello, this is Lenny.
It was an elderly gentleman who was messing with various marketing phone calls.
And it had 16 stock phrases that would respond whenever a telemarketer would pause.
When was the last time you turned on your computer?
Sorry, I can barely hear you there.
The sentences are so generic that like telemarketers stay on the phone and like think they're actually talking to a real person.
Yes.
But it's actually a chatbot.
So can you get next to the computer now and turn it on?
Well, that does sound good. I mean, you have been very patient with an old man here.
But with modern day scam baiting, it's a bit more complicated.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello?
I'm here.
The goal is almost like if you were fishing, you're baiting your hook to go after a particular type of fish, or in this case, a particular type of scam.
It's fun. I'm giving it to you for your wedding. I get it.
So once I say, change my voice and I sound like an older gentleman, I do anything that I can to convince them that I am falling for their scam.
I'm doing it because you told me.
So I can waste their time.
I unplugged the computer. That way the transfer won't go through. Right? No!
We're kind of constantly trying to find new ways to do this. We have something that we call the gauntlet or the maze, where, because scammers often want Bitcoin and they ask you to go to a Bitcoin ATM. Once you insert cash, you can send money directly to their wallet. At the end, they ask you for a receipt. It typically has a QR code. The scammers want a picture of that receipt. Well, my receipt takes them to my fake crypto exchange, and they get trapped into a maze where they have to sign up for an account, and then they have to prove that they're human by solving math problems and call a 1-800 number in which they wait on hold for hours and talk to fake representatives.
Welcome to the EasySend automated system.
This isn't just one scammer, it's hundreds of scammers. I think it's wasted somewhere around 94 days of the scammer's time, essentially without me even. Like there's probably a scammer or two in there right now trying to figure out where their money is and why they haven't gotten it yet.
So Kitboga alone has hundreds of millions of views. That's a lot more than the government campaign videos.
Boys, I don't give a damn. I'm just gonna go straight through the door and talk to the guard.
There's kind of been a shift in how these YouTube vigilantes act. You get the sense that there's a real battle to dismantle the fraud operations.
Started to shift from just wasting time to collecting information that is valuable for like fraud professionals, law enforcement to take action on.
Okay, thank you very, very, very much.
You're welcome.
No, that's the least we can do.
The least we can do. All right, this is a victory.
And there's one vigilante that's really leading the charge here.
I can see that the scammers still have access to your computer.
This guy is revered by fellow scambaiters, and he's even been called the godfather of scambaiting.
Hello?
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 Yeah, hi sir. My name is Carolina Fernandez. I am calling you from the Microsoft.
Oh, hi, Priya.
Who are you?
My name is Jim Browning, or at least that's my stage name. It's what I use on YouTube. And the reason why I use a fake name is because I disrupt multi-million-dollar scams. In short, I hate scammers, and quite a long time ago, I decided, right, I'm going to try and do something about it myself. I know about computers, I know about networks, and maybe I could put that to use. So this person's phoning the UK as well, and if I do a 0 with that, I should be able to listen into it.
Now, you said you have not used this card anywhere online today in the morning, right?
That is correct.
Then it means that you are getting compromised.
So scams often involve the scammer asking to connect to your computer and then help you fix something.
What they're particularly interested in, depending on the scam, is how much money you've got in your online bank account. They will tell you, you need to fill in a form or you need to reclaim your money by typing this. They do not make it clear that what you're actually doing is giving them access to your computer.
The thing is, Jim Browning has a background as a software engineer. And so what he can do is he can reverse that connection so he'll have access to their computer.
I can see their webcams and CCTV. I can see the calling system that they're using to make their phone calls. You can hear what the victim hears.
There's a fraud on your account at this time, so we have to work on it accordingly. That's what you called for.
The police generally cannot do that. So that's really how all of this starts.
This side, Mark Anderson. I'm calling you from Windows. This call is regarding your computer, ma'am.
The victims are very rarely in the same country as the scammers, and that is to the advantage of the scammers.
Unlike law enforcement, these vigilantes, they don't deal with any of the red tape when they're fighting these international criminals.
You need all sorts of court orders to look at a PC which isn't yours. But I can, let's just say, access things that police couldn't to help them along with their job. And I know that police services throughout the world in other countries have made great use of what I've given to them. I do confront scammers directly. You're lying about that. Are you? What's going on here? And I've asked the question of them loads and loads of times. Why do you do this? Are you proud of what you do? Why are you trying to defraud people? But I already know what the answer is, because the answer is always, although they will never admit it, greed.
My name is Beard, and I've came to Dubai to change this life that I've had. We had this whole image about Dubai to be the land of opportunity, so we saved some money for me to come to Dubai. And when I came, reality hit so hard, and turned out that you can't find a job easily. Eventually, I've heard about an advertising job. We got there, someone sat us on computers and told us, "You're hired." That's it. The place was literally in a desert, on a highway, far away from the city. We needed permission to leave the building. We were supposed to live there. It turns out it wasn't an advertising job. So here is the office. You can see the computers, the mobile phones. The guy told us to just chat with these people that are texting and be nice to them. And we were supposed to do that for 13 hours a day to convince them that we are trustworthy. I was pretending to be a very nice-looking, easy on the eyes Ukrainian girl. Sample script open. Today, weather is a little cold here. I wish you are here to warm me up. I would like to meet you in person. You seem to be a nice person and you are so smart. They gave me a set of photos to send to the victims to convince them that I'm this girl. But that wasn't the twist. The twist was the girl actually exists.
Okay, good, nice. I call you to see your face. I'm not working right now.
Whenever a victim decides that, hey, I want to see you, you're so beautiful, I need to talk to you, we take the phone to the model and tell her, hey, this guy wants to talk to you, here's his name, say this or that.
Nice to see you. I will message you WhatsApp, okay? Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, gracias.
Then start slowly but surely introduce the cryptocurrency, their fake cryptocurrency.
We know that the actors behind this massive national security issue are organized criminals. They are known criminals, known gangsters who've been sanctioned by the United States. It's only growing and it's only becoming more entrenched. And that's because they've specifically chosen locations where they can continue to do their dirty business without government interference.
A lot of Chinese criminal syndicates used to operate in Southeast Asia, and they still do, but there's been some crackdown in that region, and they've started to take advantage of other regions and expand. So we've seen some of their operations expanding in Africa and also in the UAE. One of the reasons why Dubai is so attractive is that the whole city kind of runs on cheap labor that comes from Western Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, who can easily get a visa and then start working on construction sites or your everyday service job.
After a week from my arrival, it was beyond just obvious it's a scam. It was just morally not right. I didn't feel that it was right to stay there, even though I would probably end up homeless. I didn't have any goal, I didn't have any motives, I just wanted it to stop. I knew the right guy to contact.
I was reached out to by a guy who called himself Beard. It's a fake name, but he at that stage could not trust me, and I didn't know I could trust him either.
Almost every day I talked to him, it was just be safe. You don't have to do this if you feel in danger. This is a very risky job you're doing.
If they'd caught him doing this, he knew that he was likely to be punished severely, if not killed.
This criminal corporation that employs these people runs no differently than any other corporation in the world. People get promoted, they have a HR department, they have a finance department, they have a conversion department, they have sales, marketing. So it really is a criminal corporation that uses all the same strategies as a real corporation.
It's like clockwork. They don't stop. They just have people running 13 hours a day, 2 shifts covering the 24 hours, 7 days a week. Thousands of workers.
The recruiters actually reach out to people who are not UAE residents, mostly from India or North Africa.
They avoided hiring anyone native or anyone actually from the Gulf cities because they can get them in trouble. People from different countries, they don't care. They can just fire us or shove us somewhere in the desert where no one can ask or know where we are.
They're taking advantage of all these people from third world countries because a job is everything to them. They're sending a few $100s back to their family every month, and that's a lot more than what they were doing before.
$600 if you just got on the computers and talked. $700 to $800 if I got a single victim to actually invest. $1,000 if I got 3 victims, and so on and so forth.
And when they become good at scamming and they start to make serious money for their bosses, they get promoted. And of course, it results in the operation growing in size and scope.
In a single month, they can make up to $100 million. It's just beyond belief.
when Beard called me, I actually got him to run a few commands. He went round when the room was quiet and he typed certain things, and that downloaded something that gave me remote access to it. So this is the Rahaba residence. I can look at the wireless networks around that building, and with a little bit of Google's API technology, I verified that this is where Beard said the building was. You can see here on the left, there are applications which have the Chinese characters and so on. Although the vast majority of the workers weren't Chinese, the people who actually run the crypto scams are gangs from China. And if you go into Google Earth, about half the buildings were being used for the scams, and I guess one of the Chinese gangs must have commissioned a mobile communications van just to carry the traffic that they were using.
When the victims make an account on their platform and buy their first batch of cryptocurrency, the bosses of the place, the Chinese, he just take control from his computer. It was called Yomite.
Hello everyone, I'm the manager Yomite. Nice to meet you guys. Here I'm going to share how Yomite works and how to make money.
The application name or website doesn't matter. It all did the same sort of thing. If you put money into this app, it would eventually look as if it's making lots and lots of money.
Thus seizing every opportunity to buy low and sell high with timely attack.
If it looks too good to be true, if they're promising you definite returns, that should be a red flag for a scam.
It was a big transitional period, just a reset for myself personally. When you are married for that long, I think you forget what it was like to be single. I was sitting there for hours and hours and hours thinking about what I was going to be doing with my life. I was really just looking for an opportunity to keep myself busy. The first one was Jenny Ying, and she was from the UK, and she contacted me via WhatsApp. I didn't talk to her for very long before she handed me over to someone called Janice, who went by the hashtag Janice the receptionist. Now, Janice was really the person that I spent most of the time with. She said you would need to invest your money, and at the time it was about $200 Hong Kong, to do the trades and do the training with us, and then we will provide you $290 back at the end of the training exercise, which was like a 3-step task that I completed. They sent me confirmation to my Standard Chartered bank account here in Hong Kong that I'd got $290 Hong Kong back. So I felt pretty positive about those tasks up to this point. They were saying to me then, well, that was a very simple example of what you could do. Would you like to learn more? That's when I probably made the first of my many mistakes in this process. I clicked on the most expensive one, which was $38,000 Hong Kong. And they would send back to me 42,000 Hong Kong dollars. I didn't know the person, but I transferred the money out of my bank to their bank account. She said my account was now set up and I could go into the trading system, and we did the same 3 or 4 steps of Bitcoin trading. The tickets that they sent you to do the trades were quite complicated and quite difficult to read. I found that I was making errors there, and if you made an error in any of them, then the whole system folded. They got quite upset and said, you know, I'll allow you, because you're new to the system, to make that one mistake, but in order for us to keep trading, you're going to have to do another transaction of 38,500. But again, your money would be safe, it would accumulate, and then you'd be able to withdraw it without any issue. I mean, this was a period of only 3 weeks, but it was a really intense 3 weeks, and I pretty much traded every single day to try and get my money back out of this system. I didn't think I wouldn't get it back. I really felt that I could do this. I could win. I lost, I think it was 6.6 million Hong Kong, about 800,000 US dollars in total.
The level of despair is really hard to look away from. And the desperate conditions that people find themselves in, and to know that people are killing themselves over this drives me every day, that there has to be something better. What we know with regard to these scams is that they are employing masterful psychological techniques against our victims. These people are working 24/7 to figure out how to take your money, and you are a trusting human who wants to believe the best in everybody. And that doesn't make you dumb, that makes you vulnerable to this type of manipulation.
I lost my flat because I didn't have any money to make the balance. I called my mum and she sent me some money to help me get through the next few months. And then I was forced to sell assets that I had just to keep going. I felt embarrassed that I'd made such a stupid mistake. You know, when you have an account that has that much money in it, to see that effectively being gambled over a 3-week period to be now negative was shocking. I was very depressed, and yeah, I was pretty messed up.
The reality, when I get these emails from victims, these victims are saying things like, what's my next step? How can I recover this money? And they don't realize the truth of the matter is that money is gone. And the best thing that those victims can do for themselves is to put that in the rearview mirror and to start thinking about the recovery process of what happens next.
The police said to me that they would pursue the companies and the banks in Hong Kong and talk to those owners of those bank accounts and do their investigation. But I put my statement in and have only had one phone call in the last 7 months. I started to reach out to some investigators, and that's when I contacted Ken Gamble and IFW.
We had a complaint from a victim in Hong Kong. He's a British Australian. Now, it's a bit like the old kidnapping cases. Whenever there was someone kidnapped and there's a ransom being demanded, we always try to keep that kidnapper on the line, because while we're communicating, we have a chance of tracking them.
So there's Janice, the receptionist, Donald, the teacher, and Duke, who introduced himself as the CFO. Janice said because the amount of money that I had in my account was so large, Duke is going to personally work with you to get that withdrawal completed. And he gave me all sorts of guarantees. He would even give me a letter of guarantee. So I signed it, and then Ken embedded a trace into that form and sent it back to Duke. We got a trace link and an IP address for the first time. The trace address was in Dubai. In my head, I imagined that they were in Hong Kong. And yeah, I was shocked. I was really shocked.
The reason why I'm calling is, I don't know if you're aware, but the whole thing is a scam.
We got introduced to Jim a while ago by a mutual acquaintance, and he suggested that we should work together. When we managed to track this particular scam to Dubai, we shared the IP address with Jim. He called me back, he said, did I give you this IP address? I said, no, I've just given it to you. He said, because that's the same group that I'm monitoring. So Jim was monitoring the very same syndicate that defrauded our client in Hong Kong. That's when our two worlds really collided in a great way.
Cancel the transaction of 600 euros.
He already had internal vision of this operation. So the next step is now to send people on the ground to physically inspect that operation, to conduct covert surveillance and start building a little bit of a picture of what we're up against. We've had an informant go inside that building, and we've got footage inside. We've been able to establish exactly what they're doing.
Because IFW Global liaise with the local police, for me, this was the way to try to get something done about the scam. Initially, their view was the police are quite keen on doing something about this.
We gave them an extensive briefing on a very large syndicate that was operating right under their nose in Dubai, showing them this footage that we have, showing them the evidence that we've gathered, requesting that we collaborate with law enforcement in order to raid and bring down this operation.
But actually what transpired was things just went very quiet. Because it had gone quiet, there was nothing more to be done other than at least expose the operation in the hope that they would close it down. This is undercover filming in a pig butchering scam. The people in this office are pretending to be glamorous models in the hope that they can steal money from people all over the world. But thanks to an insider who's risking his life taking these pictures, we're able to see how their scam operates. And if you ever wondered why people are convinced with scams like this, take a look at this footage.
To see it at scale, and yet no one's looking at them. I find it highly unlikely that I will see any of my money ever again. We know there's thousands and millions of victims out there. I'm a small fish in what is an incredibly big pond. So I hope me speaking up is going to help change something and make more people aware. That would be a great outcome.
Eventually, the police did make raids in those offices. Footage shows thousands of people coming out of those buildings. Hopefully, the top people who seem to be a Chinese gang will be put behind bars for a long time because they have got away with literally millions from that scam.
Scambaiters do this big reveal. They publish video where they show how that specific operation works, and then they shut it down. And it's kind of cool to see, but
the main concern for a lot of scambaiters isn't just to work with law enforcement. They also need views. And one of the ways that they do that is simply by humiliating scammers.
So it's also kind of a lawless Wild West as well. You know, they can pick and choose who they attack. So that I think is a bit worrisome sometimes.
Whether you get scammed or not, like whether you hang up the phone or not, whether you go to the bank or not, they're still there. Just giving people tips about the red flags it just feels like it's not enough anymore.
I think that it is all hands on deck right now. We need to keep talking about this. Anyone who can do anything to make this more difficult for scammers to do their dirty work is welcome.
So we developed the world's first software to stop scammers from ever connecting to your device.
There are a lot of businesses who could take a closer look at what they are enabling on their platforms. There are more resources that could be put on it.
Certainly whenever scams run, there's a whole load of different facets to an organization. Likewise, Scambaiters, if you're going to really defeat scams, you kind of need that network as well. We think we can do much more as a group than we can individually, so that's definitely on the cards in the future.
Scammers are going to hate it, and we're going to make a really big impact.
I'm going to try and find out exactly who they are.